Good morning. Good morning, traders. How are you all doing today? Karibuni sana. Glad that you could all join us this fine Tuesday morning. Apologies for starting a couple of minutes late. We did have a number of fundamentals that were coming out at 9 o'clock. Remember, 9 o'clock is the Frankfurt market open, so we did need to end up adjusting the charts quite a bit, but we do apologize for that. So let's jump straight into it. So hello everyone, how are you doing today? My name is Mitch Kaniaru, a trader with Afriforex. I want to welcome you to another Afriforex daily analysis session. Now, you do know during these webinars, we as the Afriforex team, we analyze the markets early in the morning, we identify what trading opportunities we will be looking at taking for the day, and we do share that information with you. So as usual, we do have John. He is here in the back office, so he'll be here to assist you on whatever questions or queries you might have. So feel free to ask those questions either in the Q&A section or in the chat box, and John will be there to respond to you. So let's jump straight into it since we have started a few minutes late and we do need to be done before the London market does end up opening. So hopefully you can see my screen. So this is going to be our watch list for today. So the difference between yesterday and today, you can see yesterday we were looking for selling opportunities on the New Zealand dollar, the Australian dollar, and the Canadian dollar. We are still going to be looking for selling opportunities on those. However, the euro has moved to the sell side. So we'll be focusing on these four pairs, the New Zealand dollar, the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, as well as the euro. And we're going to mix and match them with these pairs on the buy side. So that's good. The yen, the US dollar, the Swiss franc, as well as the British pound. So let's jump into the pairs that we're going to be, or at least had yesterday, that we're not going to be focusing on today. So we'll start off here with the euro against the New Zealand dollar. Now, remember yesterday, our bias here was to look for buying opportunity to cancel the three areas that we had pointed out. Initially, when we're having this session early in the morning, we did point out that it did look as if it was actually breaking this area to the upside. Did mention if you get the price actually holding above, there could be a buying opportunity. And you can see at 10 o'clock, that's when actually the market started moving to the upside. But it could not really go that much higher because you can see the sellers came down. Then from 3 o'clock, the price started coming down much, much lower. And right now, we did end up having some euro fundamentals as well, which has shown us weakness. And you can see that weakness starting to come in. And that's the reason why there's a pair that's going to be off our watch list for today. Similar situation we do have with the euro against the Australian dollar. Yesterday, our bias here was to look for these buying opportunities. You can see the price was within this particular area right here. We did want the price to give us a pullback, coming back within this support and resistance area for potential buying opportunity. But unfortunately, during the London session, nothing much happened. During the US session, though, even from 3 and 4:30, the price attempted to come down lower, could not necessarily get all the way till our buyer's area, found some sort of small support and resistance area before attempting to go up. But you can clearly see this price just ended up ranging between these two levels. So no real activity ended up happening. And right now, since we did end up getting some euro fundamentals showing us weakness, you can see the euro pair coming down, and this is the reason why this is a pair that's going to be off our watch list today. Please no longer looking for the buying opportunities there. And last but not least, we also did have the euro against Canadian dollar. It seems that the Canadian dollar pairs yesterday did end up really pulling back quite a bit. We'll end up having a look at them, but you can clearly see overall, what bias here was to look for buying opportunities. Once the price broke and held below this area, we did want to see whether or not we could end up getting a buying opportunity down lower. You can see at 3 o'clock, the price was within this buy area. It did end up attempting to try and come up, but it seems like it found these small sellers there. And at 4:30, the price actually started continuing to come down lower. So unfortunately, there was no trading opportunity for us yesterday. We're hoping to see one today, but the fact that the euro fundamentals have come out weak, and you can see this movement to the downside, the chances of this buy working out really do end up going down. So unfortunately, we'll be not looking at this pair for today. So that's it for the review pairs. So before we do jump on to the pairs that we're going to be looking at today, we do have quite a bit. We'll end up having a look at a few screenshots that we did get. There weren't many, but that's okay. So we'll start off here with Bravin. Bravin, you did manage to grab a very nice selling opportunity on gold. I know yesterday, on silver. We're looking for selling opportunities yesterday. Very nice sell right there at the top. The stop loss is still above or at least close to your break-even point. And you can see the price really coming down in your favor. But I do know you're a big pro on silver, and we know that you do how to manage your trades well as well. Because you can see you're approaching a buyer's area where buyers have reacted multiple times. So you do end up hoping you manage your trade there. But very, very well done that trade, Bravin. And also, we did get Dan Pickett. You did manage to grab a buying opportunity on the NASDAQ. It seems that you do love the indices right now. But happy to see you did grab multiple buying opportunities. You can see the price coming up in your favor. You bought it in an area where they're buyers, and your stop losses are already at break even. So very, very good job with this trade, Dan Pickett. So that's it for all the screenshots that we did manage to get. I want to thank you guys so much for those of you who sent. But remember, it's not reserved for only a few. We do manage to take any setups based on things we share, or even if it's not necessarily these setups, but you have a question. You can end up sending us a screenshot and we will be happy to help you out. We can end up either displaying it here and giving you more detail as well. So feel free to send them in to us. There should be contact details right there in the chat box. So let's jump straight into today's pairs. So we'll start off with the New Zealand dollar pairs, mix and match them with the pairs on the buy side. Do the same thing with the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, as well as the euro, before we do have a look at the indices as well as gold and silver. So we'll start off here with the New Zealand dollar against the Japanese yen. Now, yesterday, our bias was to look for selling opportunities. You can see the 3 areas that had pointed out. Now, we've adjusted the level slightly today, but yesterday, there was not necessarily much activity on the markets. The only pairs that actually ended up moving were potentially the US dollar and the yen pairs, but we'll end up having a look at that. But you can see the price at 10 o'clock during the London market open. Price is just holding within this particular area, not necessarily go up or even go down. But at 3 o'clock, it did end up starting to push to the downside, but the fact that we could not break this level, and you can see the price pulling back, there is potential we could end up getting a better price potentially than this. So our bias today is still going to be looking for sells. We have these 3 areas. So the aggressive sellers right there at the top. We have these buyers here right here at the bottom. So now, the fact that the price has come down, you can see the way the sellers have come down here. The fact that we've not been able to make a new low basically means that these sellers right here might not have been good enough. So what we're most likely to see, I know we mentioned this a lot, but chances are we could end up seeing this market probing this area, inciting very many people to look for those buying opportunities. And if we see the price coming back in and holding below, and we see this within one of the market opening times, we could find some very nice selling opportunities on this pair. So similar game plan to yesterday, yesterday being Monday, not necessarily much volatility on the market since there was no news really. So hopefully today we'll end up expecting that volatility and potentially these opportunities as well. So hope that's clear on the New Zealand dollar against the yen. Moving on. Excuse me. Moving on to the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. Now, yesterday here, our bias was to look for selling opportunities. You can see the 3 areas we have pointed out. Did mention that the US dollar pairs did end up showing strength. You can see the price did break this area to the downside. Wanted to see if we could end up potentially getting a pullback. Unfortunately, that pullback didn't come through before the price continued going to the downside. Sorry. Then at 3, the price actually started giving us a pullback. So the price did work out yesterday, but it did not necessarily give us much, or at least a really good opportunity in terms of the pullback. But today, hopefully, we'll end up seeing that. Yeah, hopefully we'll end up seeing that based on these new areas that we have adjusted. So yes, right now, it does seem that we could potentially be in some sort of range. You can see the 3 areas that we have pointed out. We have this seller's area here, which is a support and resistance area. We could end up potentially seeing some selling opportunities within this area. We'll wait and see what ends up happening. Potentially getting some sort of probe or price action signal. Those of you who have done the AMP or the masterclass should have an idea exactly how to look for those selling opportunities there. But overall, these will be our areas that we'll be looking for the sells. Sorry, apologies. I do have a bit of a cold. So we'll start off here now, moving on to the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc. Yesterday, our bias was to look for these selling opportunities. You can see the price did come down lower. During the London session or within the bias area, nothing much happened. During the US session, we did end up actually starting to get a pullback. So similar situation with the New Zealand dollar against the Japanese yen. Potentially, we need a better price than this. So most likely, we'll potentially see the price coming up higher, giving us some sort of pullback towards that particular area. So basically, our level will pretty much be the same as yesterday because we can see not much activity actually happened yesterday on the charts. So we'll be focusing on these 3 areas. right here. So the aggressive sellers all the way at the top, because remember, if this price might not be good enough, if we don't necessarily see a probe and the price holds above, we could see the price coming all the way back up to the main sellers. So we'll be waiting to see what ends up happening on this pair. So moving on to the next and last New Zealand dollar pair we do have. This is the British pound against the New Zealand dollar. Remember, I did point out that the US dollar, the yens, as well as the British pound pair, some of them did end up moving quite a bit. As you can see in this pair, the price did manage to break this area to the upside. Pullback came in at 10, showed us the evidence that the price was actually holding above. And there was a buying opportunity there. Now, the trade worked out very nicely during the London session, but you can see once 3 o'clock came in during the US market open, that's when the pullback started coming in. So even though the trade worked out very nicely during the London session, the US session, not so much. But we have adjusted the levels today. So we'll still be looking for these buying opportunities. Potentially, we're still coming back to this buyer's area. So we'll be focusing on these 3 locations. We can potentially get a buying opportunity within this particular area. Maybe we do see some sort of probe or price action signal, and they're showing us evidence that the price is actually holding above, we should be able to look for those buying opportunities, making sure to manage our trade within this fast problem area. If you do miss that, and the price is able to come up higher, break above, and you see the price actually holding above, then we should be able to continue with those buying opportunities. But for now, let's wait to see how these sellers will actually die down and slow down before we're able to look for those buying opportunities. So hope that's clear on the New Zealand dollar pairs. You can see we'll mix and match the New Zealand dollar pairs with all the pairs on the buy side. So we're going to do the same thing with the Australian dollar. Now, on the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen, this is a pair that actually worked out. Remember, I did point out the yen's did. So the market ended up giving us a pullback. Remember, we did point out there was some sort of small support and resistance area here that we need to watch out for. The price ended up coming up, giving us a pullback during the London session. So no trading opportunity during the London session, but you can see from 3 o'clock, price was within the seller's area very nicely, where we did end up getting the price coming down lower. Unfortunately, could not get all the way to this particular area. But remember, I did point out this particular buyer's area. You can see the price never actually broke this area to the downside. Even though it came down lower, it never held below. You can see it came back up and held above. So these are similar situations when we're talking about a probe, what we're looking at. But overall today, still going to be focusing on the same areas. Not much activity happened yesterday, even though the markets did come down a bit, but the fact that we're still within the same areas, we'll still be focusing on selling opportunities, potentially giving us a pullback within this particular area. If we see the market slowing down and holding below that particular area, we could find some nice selling opportunities here on the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen. So moving on to the next Australian dollar pair, we do have the Australian dollar against the US dollar. You can see on this currency pair yesterday, our bias was to look for those selling opportunities. The price was within this buyer's area yesterday. I did point out that if we do get the price breaching the downside, we want a pullback to come back within this area for us to look for the sell. You can see it did do that. This was during the US session, but not necessarily go that much further. But the fact that we couldn't necessarily make new lows from here, you can see these buyers area still holding. Maybe we need that better price to come in. So we'll be focusing on these 3 areas to look for these, potentially look for these selling opportunities right here. So aggressive sells right there at the top. We have semi-conservative area right here in the middle. What we might find is the market could potentially be starting to range. So we'll be watching out for this seller's area. Nothing happens here, we'll be watching out for the next area right there at the top. So hope that is clear. To move on to the next Australian dollar pair. Here we have the Australian dollar against Swiss franc. Nothing much happened here yesterday. As you can see, the markets were just ranging, no real breaches to the upside or to the downside. You could even consider that this market was just ranging between these 2 levels. So overall, our bias here is still going to be looking for selling opportunities. You can see the way the buyers have started coming in much slower, and the sellers are starting to show a bit more strength. So we'll definitely be still looking for those selling opportunities. We'll wait to see what kind of reaction we'll get within this area once the London market does open. Can remember we're dealing here with the Swiss franc as well. So Swiss franc is mainly active as well during the London session. So we could potentially see some nice selling opportunities. But if you don't see anything from the big boys during the London session, you'll have to end up waiting for the US market open to see if those big boys are actually interested in this pair. So pretty much the same game plan. Right now, since we're within the seller's area, let's wait to see what ends up happening there. Now, last but not least, for the Australian dollar pairs, we do have the British pound against the Australian dollar. You can see yesterday our bias was to look for buying opportunities. You can see as the price came up yesterday, in fact, but within this area, did point out we're within a very interesting support and resistance area where we could see the price coming down lower, ideally coming back within this particular area. I did end up taking the whole day yesterday to be able to do that. You can see at 3, nothing much happened. 4:30, it attempted to come down, but came back up. That seller's area is still holding. But today morning, at least it has managed to come back within the same support resistance area. So we'll still be looking at the same game plan in terms of looking for those buys. Right now, it does look as if it's attempting to give us a probe. Remember, we always talk about these probes and price action signals. So the fact that the price has come down hasn't really held, or at least we're not yet gotten confirmation that it's held. We see the price coming up and we see aggressive buyers. Then ideally we can end up waiting for a pullback within that support resistance area to potentially look for a buying opportunity. Even though we'll be targeting all the way at the top, just be wary about this area right here. Sellers have reacted from there multiple times. As you can see yesterday, that's what the sellers were pushing from. They could potentially give you issues today. So hope that is clear, at least on the game plan of what we're looking at doing on the British pound against the Australian dollar. So that's it for the Australian dollar pairs. So moving on to the next pairs, which is the Canadian dollar pairs. Now, these card pairs did not necessarily work out well yesterday. It seems like they were really on the pullback, which we'll end up having a look at. So here we have the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. Initially, when we were having this session early in the morning yesterday, the price was within the seller's area right here. You can see the price. We're hoping to see the price coming back in and holding below. But that's not what happened. You can see the price came back in, held above. So at that point in time, no trading opportunity for us during the London session. So during the US session, however, you can see at 3, the price actually started coming down low. Unfortunately, could not get all the way till our main seller's area at the top. But you can see after that, the price did end up starting to come down lower. Wanted to see the price holding below, but even though it ended up holding below within this particular area, this was around 8 o'clock, so 8 o'clock or so. And at that point in time, no real big boys are actually fully interested in the market. And you can see that's why the price did not necessarily go. But right now, the fact that the price has come back in and it's holding above, we'll be still interested to see how this market ends up reacting. It was a very good sign the way the sellers came down. And if you compare, I know guys who have done the masterclass as well as the AMP will be able to realize the fact that this market here has managed to end up actually going to the upside. You can see how the buyers were pushing up. And then you can see the sellers, how aggressive they came down. Now, within that same area, look at how these buyers have taken so long just to get towards this area. And this is the highest point, not even where they got up to before. So you can end up definitely seeing that these sellers do seem to be a bit strong. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening here. The ideal thing would be to wait for the price to actually break this area to the downside. And on that pullback, should be able to look for those selling opportunities on the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. So hope that's clear on the game plan of what we're looking at. That doesn't happen, chances are, even though we're waiting for the price all the way at the top, do watch out for this area where the sellers started pushing down yesterday, because if they're interested in it before, one time they could be interested in it again. So moving on to the next Canadian dollar pair. Here we have the US dollar against Canadian dollar. Now, yesterday our bias was to look for buying opportunities, but you can clearly see nothing much happened. It seems like the price was just bouncing or just holding between these two levels, just ranging. So hardly any activity, no big boy was really involved in this. So today, that just means that we'll still be looking for those buying opportunities. We're still holding in the seller's area, the number will adjusted it slightly, but overall the bias is definitely to still look for those buying opportunities. Now, even when you see the way the sellers are reacting here, that's not necessarily very strong sellers. It is starting to show a good sign for us. But in order for us to confirm, we either need this pullback to come in within this area for us to look for the buys, or we get the price actually breaking this area to the upside. And when we get that pullback coming in, we should be able to continue buying the opportunities there. But for right now, let's wait to see whether or not a big boy is actually going to break either this area to the upside or to the downside. So hope that is clear, at least on what we're looking at doing on the US dollar against the Canadian dollar. Now, moving on to the next pair, we have the Canadian dollar against Swiss franc. Yesterday, our bias on this pair was to look for selling opportunities. But remember, I did point out the Canadian dollar pairs were on a pullback yesterday. Even after that huge move that came in from the non-farm payroll, you can see the price continued going up higher. Remember when we were discussing this earlier in the morning yesterday, did mention that we need to see some sort of aggressive sellers coming in. If not, let's wait to see some buyers being incited before the sellers come in. But we do not see any of that. The price actually came up, showed us evidence that the price is holding above, so no trading opportunity at that point in time, unless the price was able to break down lower. But since it wasn't, you can see the price did manage to get all the way to the main sellers here. At 3 o'clock, we did end up coming down lower during the US session. You can see it did end up approaching this area, but would have been a bit difficult to end up getting, because that's the reason why you should always manage your trades properly. But since it didn't necessarily go there, we did end up getting the price coming back to the main sellers area. So overall, and even if you compare how these sellers came down and how long it's taken for these buyers to come up, and it's still within the same area, our buyers here is still going to be looking for selling opportunities as long as we're holding below that main red SNR area right here. So if we do end up getting some sort of price action signal within here, right now, the way the sellers are looking, they're not looking strong. So there's no trading opportunity for us. We want to sell with strong sellers. So in this situation, let's wait to see whether or not we can get some sort of signal right here, some sort of price action signal, a probe, or or any other criteria you use to be able to look for those entries. But as long as you're interested, or at least you're within the area of interest, you should be good to be able to look for those sales. If the price breaks and holds above this red support resistance area, have a look at the other Canadian dollar pairs. If they are also breaking those levels, then ideally we know the Canadian dollar should be fall off your watch list at that time. But for now, it definitely still is on our watch list. Now, moving on. Here we have the British pound against the Canadian dollar. Now, yesterday our bias was to look for buying opportunities. Now, the levels we did have were right here within these highlighted areas. But you can see during the London market open, it was holding below this area, so we did not want to jump in on any buying opportunities. You can see the price managed to come down lower, came back within the extreme buyers area, waited for a big sign of big boy buyers, but once the price came down aggressive and held below, this pair did fall off our watches. But you can see even later on, during the US session at 3 o'clock, tried to come up higher. It looked as if it could potentially come in and hold above. If it did do that, there would have been a very nice buying opportunity there. But the fact that the price came back in and held below, then ideally this pair did fall off our watch list. However, overall, the bias here is still going to be looking for buys. I think we ended up having a look at the higher time frame. You can see we're within a big range, bouncing between these levels. And that's the reason why the prices really came down. But the fact that we're within this bias area, we are starting to see that strength of the British pound coming in right now. So overall, our bias here is going to be looking for buys, but would advise you not to start chasing the market right now. It does seem that the buyers are coming in quite strong. And all those late buyers, people who chase the market, would easily end up getting stopped out, because remember, where are you going to put your stop loss? So don't be surprised you find that this price actually still comes down lower before it actually ends up going to the upside. So we'd encourage you to either wait for that or wait for confirmation. If you can get the price breaking this area to the upside and holding above, then we should be good to go to looking for those buying opportunities on the British pound against the Canadian dollar. So hope that is clear. As we move on to the next currency pair, you can see we're mixing match 3, New Zealand dollar, the Australian dollar, the Canadian dollar. Right now we're going to move on to the euro pairs and do the exact same thing with the pairs on the buy side. So here we have the euro against the Japanese yen. Overall, our bias here is going to be looking for selling opportunities. These are brand new entering our watch list. So we'll be focusing on these 3 areas right here. So the aggressive sellers right there at the top, they did manage to push this price down quite aggressively yesterday. So overall, as long as we're holding below that area, we should still be looking for selling opportunities. You can see how aggressive the sellers came in. And look at how the buyers are coming in. So they could be struggling here, but don't be surprised if we do end up getting some sort of probe. You can see the fact that the price came in and it's holding above this area. The buyers do seem to be reacting. So maybe if this price was not able to actually go down lower, could easily find the price attempting to break to the upside, inciting many people to come in. And once we do end up seeing something similar to that, then we should be able to, or at least we should be good to go to continue with those selling opportunities there. But remember, if it holds above, the chances of the sell working out really goes down. And that's the reason why for us, it does fall off our watch list at that point in time. So hope that's clear on the euro against the yen, Japanese yen. So here we have the euro against the US dollar. So branding entered our watch list. It seems that this dollar is quite strong. As you can see, it's been grinding down lower and lower. Similar situation with the other US dollar pairs that we've had a look at. So overall, our bias here is definitely going to be looking for sells, but right now we're within a bias area. So we need a pullback to come in, potentially within this area right here, for us to end up looking for a selling opportunity. So if we can end up getting something similar to that, for us to look for a sell, that would be much better. But we'll be waiting to see within this first area. If nothing happens within this location, we'll be waiting to see whether or not it will come in within the main sellers right there. So this one's pretty clear cut. We've broken a support and resistance area. Let's wait for a pullback for us to look for those sells. Now, moving on to the next pair, we do have the euro against the Swiss franc. Our bias here is going to be looking for selling opportunities on this pair. So we'll be focusing on these three areas right here. So right now, it does seem like we're in some sort of range, bouncing between these levels. So let's wait to see what ends up happening. We can get some sort of probe or price action signal here. Remember, if the price breaks and holds above this area, we're still going to be looking for those selling opportunities, especially where the buyers are coming in aggressive. We could end up finding the price coming back within this area before we're able to see that sell. But remember, once people see this and the way the price is coming up, don't be surprised that the probe actually ends up happening within here. So it goes up higher. And if you do see that price happening and holding below, then chances are we could end up getting a nice selling opportunity. Because right now, people are right now definitely jumping in on buyers, not realizing that we're within an area where they're selling. So just watch out for that. But we'll wait to see whether or not we can end up getting a slowdown on this pair. Now, last but not least, we do have the euro against the British pound, brand new entering our watch list. You can see this market seems to have been in a range quite a bit. Remember, when pairs are both on the same side of the watch list, they do tend to end up giving us a range, and that's exactly what was happening yesterday. But the fact that right now the euro is showing weakness and the British pound is showing strength, you can see we are attempting to break this area to the downside. But remember, if we are breaking this range to the downside, we need to get confirmation, because ranges tend to probe quite a lot. So even though you're seeing the price all the way down here, don't be surprised that sometimes you'll find the price will actually come back in and hold above before actually going to the upside. So that's the reason why we'll always encourage you guys to wait, because that's exactly what we'll do. Wait to get that confirmation, see the price is actually holding below. Hopefully it matches and lines up with a particular time. Maybe the London market open, the US market open, or it could be based on a news event. We could end up finding some nice selling opportunities there. So let's wait to see what ends up happening. But remember, do not chase. Let's wait to see if we can actually get that pullback coming in. So that's it for all the current pairs. You can see we'll mix and match all the pairs on the sell side with the pairs on the buy side. So right now we're going to have a look at the indices before we do look at gold and silver. So remember, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the Q&A section. I will be addressing them at the end. Now, moving on to the NAS 100, the NASDAQ. Here, our bias yesterday was to look for selling opportunities. Now, you can see the three areas that we have pointed out. Nothing much happened yesterday during the London session. The price continued going up higher a bit during 3 o'clock once the US market did open. At 4:30, we're back within the sellers area, and they did end up attempting to try and come down lower, but seems like it found some sort of support and resistance area right here that was breached before the price ended up coming back up. But you can clearly see we have not yet fully broken above this area. Price has gone up. Look at how aggressive it comes back in and is holding below. So overall, we'll definitely still be looking for selling opportunities based on the same areas that we did have yesterday. So right now, we wait to see what ends up happening within this particular area. Remember, this being the NAS 100, it's mainly active during the US session. However, that doesn't mean it cannot be active during the London session, but it just has a high likelihood to move more during the US session. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. Might not necessarily see much activity now, but later on, you could end up finding that could end up getting some nice selling opportunity, especially if it does end up going up higher. You could end up getting a nice selling opportunity there because everyone will be thinking now that it's a buy. But the fact that we're holding below within this area, we do end up getting the price coming in and you just find it ranging, holding below this area until 3 o'clock. Chances are we could end up getting a nice selling opportunity. Even though we could end up targeting all the way to the bottom area, watch out for this location. The fact that the buyers reacted from there before, you don't know whether or not they could react from that location up here. So hope that is clear on the NAS 100 as we move on to the Dow Jones. Now, yesterday our bias was to look for selling opportunities. You can see no sign of big boy sellers came in for us to actually look for those sales. You can see as the price came up, came back within this area at 10 o'clock. Wanted to see whether or not big boy sellers are actually going to come in. They did not. You can see the price broke to the upside and was holding above. You can see at 3 and 4:30, that's when the price actually started taking off to the upside. Now, it did look as if it was breaking this area, but you can see a very nice probe that ended up happening. The fact that the price went up, it came back in and held below. So the levels we'll still be watching out for are the same ones that we have here. Still looking for those selling opportunities. Hopefully today we'll find that volatility coming in. But remember, with the Dow Jones, the Nasdaq, gold, and silver, we're purely technical, meaning if we do get the price breaking and holding above the red support resistance area, it doesn't mean it will fall off our watch list. In this case, we will actually be able to look for those buying opportunities on the Dow Jones. So we'll be very interested to see what ends up happening. But in this situation, the fact that we got a very nice probe, we could potentially see this price coming down lower quite active. So hope that is clear on the Dow Jones. So let's move on to silver. Now, on silver yesterday, our bias was to look for selling opportunities. Hence, remember yesterday, we did point out the fact that the price had come down within this area, and we started getting a pullback, and the fact that the price could not go any lower initially. So that means we needed a better price than this price right here, within this particular area right here. You can see the price did end up holding within that location before the price broke to the upside. So at that point in time, once we started getting the better price, we wanted to see signs of big boy sellers. So they did end up attempting, but the buyers still seemed to be holding the market within the same area. The buyers kept on pushing up, not breached within that particular area, and didn't manage to continue going up. Once we saw that, ideally we knew the big boys were not yet interested in this pair. So the fact that the price has gone up quite a bit was still holding within this particular area and was still within a seller's market. You can see the way the sellers came in quite aggressively yesterday, or at least the day before, and it's taken a whole day to just do around 70% or so of the move that came down. So overall, we'll definitely still be looking for sell. The sellers are still in this market, but we'll be focusing on those three areas. So if we can get the price to come down low, potentially giving us some sort of pullback right there, and we see aggressive sellers, we could end up finding a nice selling opportunity there. But be aware that since we've not yet seen those big aggressive sellers, this price could still grind up slowly throughout the London session, coming all the way towards this particular area here. And that's when we might see now. Once you see aggressive sellers coming in, you could potentially see some nice selling opportunities there. But remember, if the price breaks and holds above the red SNR, ideally at that point in time, you can be able to look for buying opportunities. Now, last but not least, we do have gold. Now, gold, remember yesterday we did point out these two areas. We did mention that we're still going to be looking for buying opportunities, even though the price looked as if it had broken this area to the downside. We wanted to see how the price was going to come back in. Did end up coming in, attempting to show that it was holding below, but once the price came back up and was holding above, this gave us a sign that we could have actually been able to look for buying opportunities there. You can see the price managed to go up higher. Should have managed our trade within this seller's area. As you can see at 4:30, we did end up getting a pullback, but it still came back towards that same buyer's area You can see the buyers have managed to attempt to go up high. So overall, our buyers here is still going to be looking for buying opportunities. So we'll be focusing on these three levels, the same ones as we had yesterday. Right now, the fact that you can see we've not really gotten a proper breach to the upside in the price holding above. We're still holding below this area. But if we are able to see something like that today, and we see the price giving us a pullback and it does actually hold above, then we could end up looking for nice buying opportunities on gold. So we'll be waiting to see what ends up happening on this pair. But ideally, those are the levels we'll be watching out for. So I guess that's it for all the currency pairs, including gold and silver. You can see this is the watch list for today, or let me say for now. We do have a number of fundamentals coming out. You can see the euro and British pound fundamentals that are coming out at 9. But we have a bit of news at 12, but nothing much happened during the London session. So there might not necessarily be too much activity during the London session, just a few speeches. Maybe during the US session, we might see a bit more, but it seems like maybe tomorrow, especially days when there's a lot more news events, that actually gives us a lot more trading opportunities because that brings in the volatility. So you can see tomorrow, at least we have a number of pieces of news during the London session as well as the US session. But at least I know tomorrow definitely we'll find a lot of volatility. But today, maybe during the US session, will we find that volatility actually coming. So let me see if there are any questions in the Q&A section. And apologies, I do have a small flu. So apologies for the coughing. Yeah. So seeing someone saying Samsung. I guess that's, you can end up changing your name. You should have the ability to change your name. You're like, hi Mitch, thanks a lot. I don't know if that's Alan Rono, but glad to see you as well. But yeah, karibu sana. Then Metrin, you're saying good morning. Which can you display the Nasdaq and the Dow Jones? I can do that for you, Metrin. So the Nasdaq still looking for selling opportunities. Right now, it's on the pullback. Let's wait to see whether or not we can get the price actually holding up below for us to continue with those sells. But if the price comes back in and holds above, we'll be looking for those selling opportunities right there. Okay. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening, but no sign of big boy sellers just yet. And similar story with the Dow Jones, but this one gave a very nice probe right there. But we want to see how the price is actually going to hold below. The fact that the sellers are not really coming that aggressive, that's some point of concern. So that's the reason why we waited to see what ends up happening. At least if we get the price holding below, then definitely we should be good to go with those sales. But if the price breaks and holds above this area, remember that point in time, we will be looking for buying opportunities. So I hope that is clear for you, Metrin. So I'm not seeing any more questions, which is okay. In fact, lucky I'm seeing Atieno. You can you can be able to ask those questions on the Q&A section. Not really usually go to the chat box, but happy at least I did. So you're asking to display the gold chart. So this is what we're looking at. Gold, looking for buys. Let's wait to see if we can get the price reaching and holding above for us to buy those take those opportunities. But for now, since we're holding below, let's wait to see. We could still get the price coming back in with the buyers here before we're able to look for those buy. So I hope that is clear for all of you. So I guess that's it. Not seeing any more questions. I want to thank you guys so much for joining us today. Really do appreciate it. Really do apologize for the coughing slightly. At least apologize for that. But it's okay. Hope to see you guys tomorrow. Have an amazing trading day. God bless. Cheers, guys, and bye for now.